Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, 991, the Sports Animals, Tyler Ivens. Tyler, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Two thumbs up, man. I'm doing great. Yourself? I just recently ran into you. Where were we? What were we doing?
Tailgate for Tennessee, Florida.
Overtime. Correct. Yeah, it was. We were at we were at Circle Park. Saw the CTP hat, and I was like, "Is that the Chase Thomas podcast? Copyright, trademark?"
Yeah.
And we only got to see each other for like 30, 45 seconds. And actually, it's funny. The last time I saw you was the last time I was actually 100% healtly. So what the hell did you give me? Because
that was not me. You were around a lot of people that day. Circle Park was very. You can't pin that on me. There was a lot of close contact in Circle Park that day.
A lot of in the bubbles. There were a lot of bubbles. Yeah, no, you're right. Strike one on me, but I'm doing great, man. You look like you're doing the same too. I keep up with the Chase Thomas podcast, and the Chase Thomas podcast is a going and a blowing, as the kids would say.
Yeah, we got VolsHub.com moving here on TPL as we're expanding our Tennessee writing. So I'm excited about that. And, just there's a lot going on. I will say this is now the busy time where now we got basketball and now Lady Vols is rolling, and you're like, okay, baseball needs to go away because the weekend, Look, we're built different. Patello's built an animal, but like 13,000 people showing up for the Smokies fall ball game last weekend. You're like, no, okay, we need to wrap this up. Tony, we'll see you in a couple months, but I can't do this.
So true story. Not that you asked, but true story. They're negotiating my contract to bring me in back home here to East Tennessee. And we're going through the vacation portion of my contract. And I just go, so when am I supposed to take vacation? Like, how am I supposed to take vacation? And at the time, Tony had just gotten hired. Maybe been there 3 months, maybe 2-3 months. Curry's still in the front office. And my boss at the time, Jeff Jarnigan, goes, well, there's always the spring baseball season. You've got plenty of time to fit that in. The second Vitello starts turning this into a juggernaut, I get an allotted amount of vacation days every year, trying to get back-to-back days off between March and February. Impossible. But
I guess it's basketball. Basketball season's probably the best one now. Is it basketball? Just because they play a lot of weekday games and it's built for the tournament now. Like maybe you could, I don't know. I feel like I could be wrong.
Do you want to know a secret about me? About your old pal Tyler Ivens?
I'm ready for it.
I love college basketball season.
Okay.
So I'm junkie. I'm college basketball junkie. I'm noon Villanova St. John's, 2 a.m. Bakersfield against Santa Cruz. So if I can keep from taking vacay, and I get it, it's football, it's the SEC, as it should be. I love football as well. But if you want to talk about like strap me in vein style, I love the winter. We love being cozy. We love college hoops. Throw a little log on the fire and kick back and be like, hit your free throws and we'll chat. Yeah.
I will say I'm a huge NBA guy, like Hawks and everything else. Like growing up, like I'm NBA first for sure. And then I watch obviously Tennessee in college and get more locked in across the board once the tournament rolls around. But
I should have known that about you. Of course, you're
I know.
Man. You're a fan of that trash bag Trae Young, still talking trash about my Knicks. So we'll talk about one of these days.
I mean, you enjoyed that, right? Like we don't have enough of that anymore. I like a good villain story. I love that New York and Trae have this animosity years after the Eastern Conference Finals.
I've always been told that I would make one hell of a heel. So the bad guy approach, I've always cheered for those. That's why I'm a huge Ric Flair fan. Yeah. So the bad guys, the William Zabkas, the was it a bad guy, good guy story, Karate Kid? Chase, come on, dude. That's my wheelhouse. Yes.
There you go. Who's the biggest babyface at 991 and who's the biggest heel right now?
Oh, that's such a great question. Babyface? Oh, without question, John Wilkerson.
Yeah.
I get asked so often about John, and that's not an embellishment. Like that conversation gets brought up more often than some people would allude to. John Wilkerson.
Yeah, he's like a dolly figure now in Tennessee, where it just you couldn't. It would be so jarring to hear someone who was just like, man, Wilkerson's just Not for me. I'm not a Wilkerson guy. It's like you're not a Dolly person. Like, how do you have a negative? I mean, neutral I could understand because you don't have to put like negative.
John Wilkerson is the face. There was a poll. Was it on VolQuest? I don't remember. Some website. Now that Jimmy Himes is retired, who's the biggest no guy at the station? And I apparently won the poll. So if I can't vote for myself, which I don't think I am. I mean, East Tennessee guy. I don't think I am. Probably Ainge. But I think Ainge probably embraces it too.
Yeah.
He kind of has that I don't care swagger about it. So I don't want to be on that poll. But I mean, maybe I'm doing something right if people disagree with me. Nobody likes shows where people are like, I agree with you. And I agree with you. So it kind of comes with the territory.
Well, then we're going to have to disagree on some stuff here today, Tyler.
You're a Braves fan. I'm a Mets fan. We've already started.
That's
Knicks,
true.
Hawks. Yeah. So, here's one. Are you Tennessee, Georgia? Tell me there's no like ties to Athens we haven't learned about you, Chase Thomas. I know
there's no ties to Athens. I can confirm.
You got your master's at Rocky Top, but I don't want to hear about this. I met a guy who once knew a guy who sold me some coffee beans in Athens, and it came together. Whatever.
No, the city though. Athens, fun town. Athens, good city. We're
15. I've been to 15 of the 16 SEC campuses.
Okay.
I had been to Oklahoma and Texas with my time at ESPN.
Okay, can I guess which one you haven't been to?
Oh, if you've known me long enough, you should know this. How about I give you a hint?
Okay.
It is not a campus that's been part of the realignment from 2012.
I'm going
We
to
can eliminate four. We can eliminate four.
I'm going to say Starkville.
Close. No.
Oxford?
Now, I was going to say close. You were warm, not hot.
Okay.
Fayetteville.
I was going to say Fayetteville, but I was like, it was one of those that we don't play often. It was just one of those where you just don't have a reason. Yeah.
And I had a bunch of people this year who were like, it's the last one on the box. You should go out there. And I'm like,
yeah,
maybe.
Oh, so you're responsible for what happened in Fayetteville?
Oh, no. I think if I would have shown up, maybe they would have won.
That's what I'm saying. But, so you didn't go. So you are responsible.
Yeah. And just like I didn't go the other 5 times they haven't won there either in the last handful of seasons. But,
I'm noticing a trend.
Dylan Sampson coming out and being like, we smelled ourselves too much. Maybe I needed to show up and be like, hey, you, knock it off. Don't smell yourself. Knock it off. And that's what happens.
We can't overlook little things like that. Those little things go a long way in terms of wins and losses.
What's crazy? Here's what's crazy. And I don't know how many people out there listening to this podcast who also listen to me. But then what I'm about to say, they already know this to be factual. But man, I was getting on to some of the listeners for the longest time because they were very glass half empty about this team. Very pessimistic. They were just, man, that's a great win against Florida in overtime. But dang it, that Arkansas game. And you're like, chill out. That's a great win against Alabama. But that freaking Arkansas game. And it's just like, whoa, guys, that was so 4 weeks ago. It was so 6 weeks ago. And then, okay, Kentucky is just, okay, you figure it. And now you start seeing the college football playoff brackets come out, and you just go, that dang game against Arkansas. That's why this weekend against Georgia clearly we'll discuss.
Yeah.
It's a lot larger than some people are kind of drumming it up to be. I'll say that.
I will say I've noticed the same thing with Tennessee fans, and like I have a theory on this, Tyler, and we can get into Georgia here. I think one of the things that it's kind of like a cliche from football fans where they talk defense wins championships. Yeah. And they're like, I want a defense. And what did Tennessee fans complain about for the first 2 years of Tennessee football? And even the special 2022 year, they're like, this defense is going to get us. And it did down the stretch at South Carolina. Like it did end up biting Tennessee in the butt at the end of the year. But they say they're like, I just want a defense. I want an elite defense. We haven't had an elite defense since John Henderson and company. Like I want to get back. I want to get back to that. I want the Leonard Littles back. I want the Al Wilsons back. And then you have the best defense you've had in 20 years. And fans are like, oh, like this isn't fun. Like this isn't fun winning 20-17 over and over again. So I think it's one of those things where it's like good defense is like eating your vegetables as a fan watching these games where you're like, I understand broccoli is good for me, but now that it's been put on my plate and now that it's been shoved down my throat, I'm just like, I don't want any more broccoli. Give me the mac and cheese again. Give me the downfield bombs. Give me the little Deppies because I thought this is what I wanted. And I understand this is going to raise the ceiling of this program. And we have a championship defense. but I don't like it. I don't like this. This isn't as fun.
I would say Tennessee fans will likely have to be going through this vicious cycle all over again at the end of the offseason too, because what you want to bet, schools that are not on the MTSU level come calling about, hey, we'd like to chat with Tim Banks about the possibility of our opening that just happened with our program. So
yeah,
for the most part, Danny White, Josh Heupel, they've done a fantastic job of keeping everybody intact, minus a few players who their kind of future was already written on the wall when they got here. Still miss Brian Jean-Marie to this day. Others come to mind. That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one. So as much
but we don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see what opens up, because I think SEC, there might not be an opening, obviously, in the SEC this cycle with Napier and coming back. Like, I think if you look around, like, I just don't know that there's going to be that many big time openings that he would leave for. You would have to be very selective in this modern, like, with so much changing with the House settlement next year. Like, this is a weird time to jump in and take a job, I feel like. I mean, you just saw Chip Kelly jump out of a bad NIL situation to be an OC at a Power 2 school. Like, I don't know. I just wonder how much of an appetite there's going to be for some big time assistants to jump into a head coaching job with so much uncertainty in 2025 around this.
I'll add Sean Lewis to that list as well. I remember when he left the job at Kent, I thought, why are you downgrading to an OC? Pat Schumer kicks him out of the way in Boulder, and I want to see if Sean Lewis puts it together at San Diego State. But huge fan of Sean Lewis, by the way. Love midweek action. Maybe not.
Forget they were the number one scoring offense 4 years ago.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I don't forget that. You want to know why? Because COVID and that 2021 year, I mean, we were licking our chops to get to midweek action, and they didn't kick off to November. And I would just sit there in a room full of my friends because we couldn't do anything and just go, Kent State football. And it was glorious, Chase Thomas with a capital G. I'll draw my last breath. Any last words? Kent State football. Yes, I will never forget Golden Flash football during the pandemic.
What a Tyler Ivens lead into Georgia week. I'll never forget Golden Flash football in 2020.
Put it on the tube. Just chisel it in, man.
Never forget. Leave the memories alone. Georgia this weekend. How are you feeling now that we're taping this 48 hours roughly out from this game? Where are you leaning?
The same way I've been leaning all year. I was the only person at the station. I can go on record with this and say I was the only person at the station that had Tennessee going 10-2 this year. 10-2 this year. I really started blowing into that trumpet too. Day 3 after the Citrus Bowl. Just came back from Orlando, had a couple of days off there, and then jumped on the program and said very, very confidently, with the chest exposed and everything. I think I was pretty much wearing my Hulk Hogan rip away that day. Nico is the real deal. From covering my time in Iowa, I get it. Some people want to sit there and tell me about Deacon Hill and how bad that Iowa offense was, and still is to this day. I get it. They were going through the Brian Ferentz swan song. I still am a believer of Nico. We get through spring game. I'm still a believer in Nico. 10-2. Ivens, stop being Tennessee Tyler. Take the glasses off. And then we get to season predictions, August 30th, day before Chattanooga. And I was like, 10-2. They're losing to Bama and Georgia. 10-2. They're losing to Bama and Georgia. Well, you got to talk about Norman, and do you see the offensive line transfer portal they had to do? So I'm going through game by game. Well, Florida's not going to, and you're right. They're not going to lose at home. If this was in Gainesville, I'm 9-3. So I just remember going through the list. They win at Norman, and I go, yeah, they're 10-2. They're still 10-2. And then they lose at Arkansas. And they said, you ready to change? And I said, I don't want to be a give backer. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I'll still say 10-2, but they're going to have to beat somebody they're not supposed to. Is that Bama or Georgia? I'm going to lean the team they're playing at home because Heupel's only lost once in the last 3 seasons plus. It's like 19-1 now. I said, all right, so I'll scratch the Bama game and flip it to a win. They beat Bama 10-2. This isn't a pat yourself on the back moment, but I'm answering your question long-winded. Even though Carson Beck has given the ball away 12 times in his last 6 games, even though that offensive line right now looks absolutely shredded. I believe Kirby's word was tough. What's it like right now reshuffling your offensive line?
They're down 4 backs.
Yeah. Ratledge can't even stay in a game. What do you have, 17 snaps in the Ole Miss loss? It's just the backups are hurt right now. And I know poor pity Georgia. That's not what I'm getting at, but I think Georgia has shown us that even the deadly runaway opponents like Georgia has become, just curb stomping everybody, they're coming back to the pack. There's a little bit of, I don't think it's Texas or Oklahoma by any means, even though Georgia has kind of got put in a pecking order now with the Texases and Alabamas that we're not used to having Georgia at one. I think this Vols defense can win anywhere at any time. You already pointed it out in the last 5 minutes. This is the most legitimate defense. You said 98, Henderson, maybe the late 90s. I put Will Overstreet, the early 2000s, the 99s, 2000, but that range, that 4-year range where they were natty and then beaten on the door in 01 again. All they had to do was just get through LSU and they were back in the Rose Bowl. That 98-2001 recruiting 4-year window. Yeah, right. Good luck. Water wasn't going through a pipe on that defense. This defense is legit. They've been bending a bit since they lost Peely in the overtime win against Florida, but they're not breaking. For some reason, offenses have stopped double teaming James Pierce, and James Pierce has gone, thank you, God bless you. And he's just running, adding to those stats now, even though his stock continues to plummet. I'm the realist on the station. I think Tennessee's going to give him one hell of a fight, and I think that Georgia's going to end up winning because of where the game's being played. From there, I think it's going to be tough to try to convince the committee that Tennessee, in fact, needs to be one of the top 12 teams. And the reason behind it is those top 25 wins don't look good anymore. Oklahoma does not look good. Grayson McCall's retired. NC State is putrid. You can't sell me on Kent State and Chattanooga, man. I'm sorry, you can't. And you still have UTEP coming to town. I know I was talking about Scotty Waldron, the former Austin Peay head coach, just 2 weeks ago. Man, how pesky was Austin Peay last year? Tennessee, they were like, what's going on? You'll be pesky, but you're still probably going to hand UTEP a 30-point butt whooping. And Diego Pavia, truther. I mean, man, I'm just going to be really disappointed for this fan base when Tennessee goes 10-2 with this defense and they're in Jacksonville playing SMU.
Well, two things on that, and I want to get your perspective on this because Texas should not be ahead of Tennessee right now.
Nor should
Texas.
I agree with you.
And I think that's what I don't know if Tennessee fans, because they're looking at Bama, they're going to be really mad if Bama gets in over Tennessee as the 4th SEC team. Here's the problem with that, though. Your vitriol towards Bama's had gotten some big, like the highs of Jalen Milroe, where he's rushed for 21 yards in those 2 losses when they got swept by Vanderbilt and Tennessee. He rushed for over 300 in those wins over Georgia and LSU. Those are 2 huge wins for them. So we've seen the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. However, Texas, you look at this schedule, and when the committee picks apart Tennessee, everything about Texas is, we think they're the best in the SEC. So we're going to keep them up there. It's like, if Texas loses to A&M, they will miss the SEC title game, finish with 2 losses. What about their schedule and how they've looked makes them any better than where Tennessee's at? Tennessee will have a better win with Alabama than Texas will have all year. If Texas does not beat A&M, they should not be in the CFP, but they will, and they might even host. And it's just, that one drives me more nuts than the Bama scenario for Tennessee, because I think Ole Miss and Bama, they've at least shown the highs of the highs. Texas, it's all based on brand and what people thought about Texas coming into the year. I think Texas could win it all this year still, but at some point the games have to matter. And if you're going to pick apart Tennessee's schedule to this point, why are you not picking apart where Texas is at? Because Texas has 0 ranked wins. They lose to A&M, they'll have 0 ranked wins all season long. Tennessee will have a ranked win over a team that you're probably going to put in the CFP anyway. What are we doing here? I don't understand how you make that case. There is no case to put Texas in over Tennessee if they are both 10-2 at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. When we were unveiling the schedules for the newcomers this year, I laughed for 45 straight minutes on the air. Even Will was like, we get it. I'm like, you don't understand. This is garbage. This is ridiculous.
And Oklahoma I don't know what Oklahoma did that they got that schedule and Texas got that schedule.
Go look at Texas's schedule this year. For those of you who need a little bit of a refresher, I talked about it so much, I have it on top of my head. Texas plays in the state of Texas. Got it. Where do they play Oklahoma? In the state of Texas at a neutral site game. Okay. Yeah. Those non-conference games you were going to try to squeeze it, those are home games in Austin. But you're going to Arkansas, which is 200 miles away from their actual campus. People, maybe it's a little further, excuse the geography. That's still driving distance for the old Southwest Big 8 rivalry between Arkansas and Texas. That's still, Texas fans can still overtake that. Yeah, well, we're going to send them, instead of a bordering state, out of the state. Where are you going to send them? Nashville. Like, I get Vanderbilt's not Vanderbilt this year. They're turning into Diego Pavia's kind of play sandbox and letting him do what he wants to do. Texas's schedule this year has been laughable at best.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you catch Georgia at your place. You're able to get the benefit of the doubt. Even your game against Texas A&M, you're playing it in the state of Texas. So they haven't had to add too many odometers to the rental car or to the frequent flyer miles. It's been kind of comical. Back to the point, it's simple. If A&M does beat Texas, then yes, logjam chaos. I love it. Let's figure it out. If you don't, Texas is your bye.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia will have a win against Tennessee. Georgia's losses this year will have been to Alabama and Ole Miss. Alabama, they have gone from losing to you in Knoxville to beating the all-you-know-what out of Missouri, shutout style at their house. Excuse me, in Tuscaloosa, I misspoke. They then go down after sunset to Death Valley, do what they did last week to LSU, whatever against Mercer. They're going to absolutely beat the you-know-what out of Oklahoma and Norman, and then they're going to go run through Auburn. There's a chance after the loss in Knoxville, Alabama's going to average win against their opponents are going to be 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. So Bama gets the style points they get in. It then comes down to who? 2-loss Ole Miss, 2-loss Tennessee. By that time, that'll be a 3rd loss for A&M, so they'll essentially have eliminated themselves. If, in fact, 4 teams are getting in, if you're Ole Miss or Tennessee and you're comparing those resumes, guess what they have that you don't? 2 wins against the 2 teams you lost against. They will have beaten Arkansas and they will have beaten Georgia. And
they've looked better.
About this,
Ole Miss has looked better. I think Ole Miss is better than Tennessee.
The reason why I'm making this such a point, trying to prepare listeners and Tennessee fans, is because I just saw them freaking do it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Tennessee beat Alabama. Tennessee owns a head-to-head win against Alabama. Everybody says, well, what if Alabama runs the table the rest? No, there's no way they're going to do that. And then the season comes to an end. And Kirk Herbstreit's sitting in front of his monitor and he goes, the eye test tells us Alabama right now, they won head-to-head. Why the hell are we playing that game? They won head-to-head. And guess what the final playoff rankings at? Bama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
They're going to do it again.
Well, I also will say, we have 3 weeks of chaos still to happen. Like every Tennessee fan who are just like, oh, it's going to be 5 SEC teams finished 10-2 and Tennessee's the one left out. I'm like, you don't know that yet. Like Ole Miss is fully capable of one more loss. Alabama's fully capable of one more.
8 miles down the road, Chase.
Yeah.
Guys, hold your bladders. Buc-ee's is coming up in 8 miles. I can just see it coming. I don't want it to play out this way.
Yeah.
I'm the guy in the back going, we're about to get some turbulence. You might want to buckle up a little bit. And I hope that I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I just got that feeling it's coming.
I don't know. Like, I'm still going to wait because I just think, well, let's wait for a couple more weeks. Also, to bring it back to Georgia, Tennessee is better than Georgia right now. Like, if you threw on you took off the Tennessee part of this and you just threw on Bama of old, or you threw on Texas coming into this game, and that, like, everything about Tennessee just had the name Texas or Alabama.
Yeah.
People be like, oh yeah, they're the favorite. They're better. They're better in the trenches. Like, Tennessee's defensive line is better than Georgia's offensive line. Tennessee's offensive line is rolling. Lance Hurts figuring it out. Cooper Mace is healthy in this game. Nico, the last 8 quarters of Nico Iamaleava, if he plays on Saturday, have been better than what we've seen from Carson Beck. Carson Beck leads the SEC in interceptions. Like, Nico over the last 3 games has been better than where Carson Beck is the last 3 games. Georgia, they don't have the bat. They don't have the running back. It's actually Tennessee now. Like, Tennessee has the Heisman-esque running back in Dylan Sampson. That used to be Georgia.
15. Georgia ranks 15th in the SEC in rushing yards per game.
And fans who are worried about, like, oh, we've been giving up gaps. Like, both Mississippi State running backs average 6.3 yards per carry. Oh my God, what are we going to do against Georgia? I'm like, Georgia has 1 healthy running back, and he has a fumbling problem. Like, that's actually not going to be an issue. I'm not worried about Georgia running all over Tennessee. Like, I don't think that's how they're going to beat them. You look at the secondary. Secondary hasn't given up. They've given up, I think, like 4 big plays of 30-plus yards all season, like long scrimmage plays.
Yeah.
Georgia can't win if they don't hit on some of these deep balls to Arian Smith and company, because they're not going and also how are they going to have the time to develop with James Pierce and company coming off the edge? Tyree West is off the injury report. Yeah. I look at this and I'm like, Tennessee's defensive line pretty healthy coming into this game. Tennessee's corners, the best they've been this century in that combination with Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy. Jalen McMurray, good too. He's a really good nickel guy. Guess who else? Yes. Boo Carter playing his absolute best football. He's returning punts now, so you have a special team advantage there. Max Gilbert has figured it out, hit a 51-yarder. You just look at everything I'm looking at here. I'm like, I don't understand outside of just it's Tennessee and Heupel struggled against Georgia. Like that's the only thing I can look at of like Heupel on the road in SEC play has been hard. But I'm like, Tennessee is better. Like Tennessee is a better football team right now than Georgia, and I think the line doesn't make any sense to me because I just don't see how a team that has not given up 20 plus points in nearly a full calendar year is going to lose this game to where Georgia is right now on the injury report and just how discombobulated they are on both sides of the ball. Like Tennessee should win this game. It is going to drive me nuts if Tennessee doesn't get this one, because if you don't get Georgia now, I don't know when you get them, because this is the time.
During the 7-game losing streak, this is the closest statistically Tennessee and Georgia have been. Like, without question, this is the closest they've been. I would like to consider myself a man of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do math.
Mm-hmm.
For the audio version of this podcast, I am winking at the monitor. That's why there is awkward silence. I like playing numbers. It cannot be ignored how putrid isn't a word because it's not that severe. Don't want to make it that dramatic. It cannot be ignored the struggles Tennessee has had away from Neyland Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Even neutral site games, not as bad as some people are making them out to be. People just say sometimes people are lazy. They're just like, well, they can't win away from Neyland Stadium. No, they can. They can win because they've shown that they can win in Charlotte. They can win in Jacksonville. They can win in Nashville. It's when they go to true road sites. Last year, they had no business losing to Florida. They peed it down their leg. I talked to two people who were on the sidelines on that Tennessee staff last year during the season, after the season was over. One of them was on my back porch here. We were having a beer, and I said, what happened in Gainesville? Quote, in quote, they pissed it down their leg. They looked afraid. I said, okay. Arkansas this year. I can keep going down the list of times where Tennessee has looked like that they can put it together, but last year in Lexington, Mark Stoops in the third quarter looked at Devin Leary, turns to Liam Cohen and goes, y'all want to open it up a little bit? And they damn near won that game. They had to have Wesley Walker had to have that massive hit in the middle of the fourth quarter to pop the ball free, or they convert that third down, and then they're going to keep driving. Georgia, they just assume because they have Tennessee's number. And look, I'm not MIT graduate. These guys that they pluck to handicap the numbers, they bring them out to the desert. But I think there's a lot of combinations of just the uncertainty of Nico, which you already mentioned it. We're recording this 48 hours before kickoff. Nico's getting a concussion test on Thursday. So I bet you we know a whole lot more before Friday.
Yeah. Well, I think they have to announce, right? If he travels, then he's questioned. Like, we'll know. We're going to know soon.
This is, and I'm branching off here. I shouldn't have even brought that up. That's a bad broadcasting no. But all this week, people have been brought, oh, Nico's definitely playing. Nico may not play. Nico may Hey, guys, they usually perform those tests on Thursday. So anybody who says that they actually know, unless you're sitting there in the room where they're doing the examination after lunchtime on Thursday, and he's going finger, eyeball, gripping, test, reaction, flashing, guess what? We're recording this 12:41 on a Thursday. If I start seeing that number trickle down towards Tennessee and points are being eaten, I know immediately what Nico's status is going to be for this game.
Yeah.
But at this moment, 9.5, 8.5, wherever you're shopping, location, recent history, who's available.
Mm-hmm.
Those three things get put into a blender, and we're start drinking these smoothies, and all of a sudden Tennessee's 8, 7. We're starting to get an idea. Do I hate the number? Sure do. Am I touching Tennessee, though, in this game, Chase? Absolutely freaking not. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it because I know the second I start getting a little bit warmed up to the idea that Tennessee's figured it out, I look and see blackout night game, Sanford Stadium, and then all of a sudden you're putting together a great opening drive. And then you turn and somehow Dylan Sampson doesn't get that turnover. And all of a sudden you're taking a snap on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 6. First down, 3rd and 11, and you just can't put together the
Mm-hmm.
perfect opening drive. I've talked about it with Heath Schuler. I've talked about it with Ainge. I've talked about it with so many former quarterbacks and offensive players, VFLs, that come in and out of our building. This year, it just seems if Tennessee can't put together the perfect drive, if they can't get to the line of scrimmage and go, cadence, no penalties, no procedure penalties, no turnovers, unless it is perfect, moving in the right direction, it's then we can crawl, we can walk, we can run. We're crawling, we're walking, we're running. But the second something happens, it's God, but okay, we're crawling, we're walking.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't go perfect, that's why you're not seeing everything kind of come together this year. There's a reason why it's first and goal inside the 4, and it's tempo, go. Hands out, turning and looking at the situation. No, come on, you got to, because it's just about confidence.
Yeah.
You had 2 tackles that didn't participate throughout majority of spring, and then you had the issues of them needing to get caught up about in fall practice because they didn't. Keurig was taking, Dane Davis was taking snaps away from John Campbell Jr., was taking snaps away from Lance Hurd. And then you were having other issues with moving people in and Andre Keurig, which, by the way, everybody keeps talking about Tennessee's injuries this week, and everybody's thinking about Nico. How about a receiver in Dont'e Thornton? I'm
glad you brought him up.
I'm hearing positive news. Andre Keurig's not being talked about this week. A lot of people know this. Keurig's been fighting through injury himself. So it looks good. And I'll close on that. There's some details inside those ingredients where you go, oh, there's paprika in this. That's why I keep sneezing.
I like that you brought up Dont'e, because this is the overlooked one, I think, by Vol fans here. And something that I'm paying close attention to on Saturday.
Okay.
There is a reason that Tennessee's offense has looked better when Dont'e Thornton is making plays. Like in the Oklahoma game, the crosser to Dont'e was huge. Like that's a big road win.
Yeah.
Dont'e Thornton, roll out to the right. He's dropping in the breadbasket, 50-yarder. Nico in that second half against Alabama. Just best play of the game. Best throw from Nico in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Against, I'm blanking. Why am I? Oh my goodness. Mississippi State last weekend.
Yeah.
74-yard down the field. Dont'e Thornton, if he doesn't go or Dont'e Thornton plays 5 snaps, I reserve the right to pull I think Tennessee's winning this game pick. Because if we are in a situation where Dont'e does not play a significant portion of the snaps, I don't think Tennessee has the horses out wide to win. Because it's going to take at least 1 or 2 big plays. They are not going to win in Athens without just one of those crossers that they did against Oklahoma, where Dont'e just beat the Malachi Starks, who's really struggled on the back end for Georgia this year. Like if Dont'e has a 60-yard burner and that, you're like, okay, because this defense doesn't need much. This defense does not need you to give them 30-plus points to win this game. You can win this game 24-17. This Georgia offense is fully capable of only scoring 17 points on this defense. But you cannot rely on just driving it down Georgia's throat defensively 3 or 4 times to get to 21, 24, whatever, and win this game. You are going to need to hit 1 or 2 explosive play touchdowns to win this game, I think. And Dont'e Thornton is your only reliable deep play threat. I understand Squirrel had his first touchdown of the year in the slot, and that was good, but he was wide open, and I'll believe when I see it in terms of that being more consistent down the stretch here. Dont'e is your best receiver. He is the one who has been the most consistent all year long. If Dont'e makes a big play in this game, I think that is going to be a big reason why Tennessee ultimately wins. They need Dont'e Thornton.
Do you know where Tennessee, if you can remember, and seeing how well you roll off stats, maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but I'll throw it out there for the listeners. You know where Tennessee finished last year out of 14 teams in explosive plays of 20 yards plus?
I'm going to say 12th or 13th.
13th.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody stretching the field, I would say at the University of Tennessee, you could honestly argue if you don't have somebody stretching the field in the SEC, your chances of flirting with the college football playoff are nil.
Yeah.
Like the old adage, old school football, if you can run the football or you can stop the run, you're going to be a pretty good team. But if you can do both,
and
you're smash mouth Tennessee in the late 90s and you're just, hey, Travis, hey, Stevens, hey, Henry, hey, Jamal, hey, can somebody wrap them up 2 yards, cloud of a dust, drop them 3rd down, 4th down, punt? In today's age in college football, ask Oregon about it. And I'm not even talking about Chip Kelly, Oregon. I'm talking about even Dan Lanning, Oregon these days are like, Dylan, we got to make plays. There's got to be at least a couple of left lane blinkers where we open up the gas a little bit. Then we'll go back to the ground game controlling the clock. Boise State is learning that as well with Ashton Genty. Same with Shadur Sanders and how they're running things in Boulder, Colorado. I just think for Josh Heupel's offense, not just to be a veer and shoot, snap the ball, stand in front, offensive lineman stand. Because you when I went back and I started looking a little bit more on the veer and shoot, and we hear it every spring about, well, Josh Heupel's college offense doesn't really prepare people for the NFL. Well, BS. That's not true. Would you rather have
doing pretty well right now?
There's a couple of people who are doing really well, but I get where a lot of them are coming from, where they're saying, well, driving somebody and then really just standing in front of somebody to try to keep them from getting to the line of scrimmage so Samson can come off tackle for 5+. And I'm being very loose with what I just said there. Obviously, this isn't an X's and O's segment, but what I'm getting at is Dylan, what it goes back to is just how talented Dylan Sampson is. Because if you know that Tennessee is hampered or handicapped in some way where they cannot just hit you with deep ball after deep ball after deep ball, you're more inclined to, instead of putting 7 in the box, you're more inclined to put 6 in the box than treat and maybe put 8 in the box. That just shows you where they go 2nd and 6. This is usually where they open it up. Oh no, draw to Dylan Sampson, and somehow he fights through for 4+, and it makes your 3rd down conversion go up 19 points. That just goes to show you, and you're not bringing up Heisman, any of that stuff. We see Tennessee every Saturday. We're hyper-focused, on everything Tennessee does. I'm just amazed this year. You're accurate on Dont'e Thornton. If that big playability, which is already limited as it is, isn't available, I felt pretty good he's going to play.
There's 2 players in the SEC right now who have more 30+ yard catches than Dont'e Thornton this season. Just 2. Do you know who they are?
They're there. Help me. Trey
Harris at Ole Miss is 1. He's number 2.
Number 1 would be my boy, 17 years of age. Is it Ryan Williams?
Yes, Ryan Williams.
There you go.
That's it. Dont'e Thornton's a star. Like, he doesn't play enough because he's been banged up throughout this year, but Dont'e Thornton is the X factor to me. Like, what do those 2 players have in common? I understand Trey Harris did not play in the Ole Miss game, but Georgia's 2 losses are to the 2 teams that have Trey Harris and Ryan Williams. Like, Ryan Williams feasted on this Georgia secondary. Dont'e and Ryan are not
an appendage without Dylan Sampson in the lineup on Monday or Saturday. Excuse me. I hate what you're saying.
And
it's massive that he plays.
I don't think Tennessee can win without Dont'e Thornton. Because I just don't think they have the guys. Like, Brew McCoy's best year was 2 years ago. Like, Brew McCoy he has 0 touchdowns at this point. He's not a big play threat. He's going to get a bunch of snaps. Mike Matthews, we're now towards the end of the year. It doesn't seem like that's happening this season. Yeah. Caleb Webb doesn't play. Chaz Nimrod's, he played only like 5 snaps on Saturday. They're going 12 personnel all the time now with Holt Stazen.
And when Chaz does get open, somehow he's not found when he's wide open.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just, you look at it, I'm like, there's nowhere you can trust in this wide receiver room outside of Dont'e. Down the field, Chris Brazzell hasn't been that guy. Like, it has to be Dont'e. Like, if you want to go out and win, like, if I'm Kelsey Pope, I am talking to Dont'e all week. You've talked about what's the biggest game of the year for you, biggest game in your career. You want to be a legend at Tennessee forever? Be the big play guy here in Athens to shut the Georgia crowd up in a blackout environment and everything else. This is your moment.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I got destroyed on the text line about a week ago when talking about Tennessee's receiving corps. I said receivers, not just wide receivers. I said receiving corps. And Will goes, I think you're being a little unfair. And I go, I'm going to list my naughty or nice early Christmas receivers list. If your name isn't Dont'e Thornton and your name isn't Miles Kitzelman, I don't want to see you catch the football. And don't worry, I won't see you catch the football. Will Brew's going to.
What have you seen all year?
Well, Squirrel's gonna. I didn't see him get into the end zone. One of these is essentially extinguished itself. The last week's storyline going into Mississippi State, we love doing the exercise start bench cut. We love it, but we were going further than start bench cut because it started as just as a backhanded comment as we were going to break. Will was trying to speed us up because we were way behind the clock. Shocker for those of you in the radio industry. We killed the clock in sports talk. And I just went, I don't know who I'm more disappointed in right now. Drops by the wide receivers, Max Gilbert's inability to hit in the clutch, or the tackles who continue to shoot themselves in the foot unless Heupel calls a play where it's a quick out of the hands, 2-step, 2-second drop, and they don't get themselves beat. And people were just absolutely going, oh, it's clearly the kickers. It's clearly the kicker. It's clearly the offensive attack. Nobody wanted to come with the reality that Tennessee's wide receivers were still an issue. Will Gilbert, we would like to believe, after a 4-for-4 performance, 50-plus, is righted himself. Heupel has done a better job in his play calling. Halsey/Heupel, Josh Heupel, has done a better job of his play calling of going, you're screwing me and you're screwing me. All right, let's make it tighter. This is what we're doing playbook-wise, these 9 pages. And they're getting the ball out quicker so the tackles can't hurt them.
And to his credit, he's evolved. He's like, we're going 12 personnel. Like, I don't care.
And I'm so you do such a great job. By the way, for the people out there who want to know behind the scenes, Jason and I do not prepare for what we're talking about. This is my favorite part about doing this type of radio, podcast, television because I just like getting it cold turkey.
Yeah.
Or off the cuff, flipping the script over and going, oh, that's what we're talking about. I love that. There are many times you and I do this together where I just go, excellent, great point. I'm glad you brought that up. The one thing I didn't think you were going to touch on that needed to be touched on was the evolution of Josh Heupel, and you were 1,000% correct. 1,000% correct. And it takes somebody. I love Sinatra coaches. If you're going to go down, do it your way. I want if we're about to shut the lid on your funeral, your coaching career. Dang it, your team sucks, but I'm doing it my way. That's a huge slice of humble pie for somebody to go, this isn't work. Okay, what do you got? I'm open to ideas. Let's see if we can put it together and still build the puzzle that we're looking to put together.
Yeah, he's on his way to 20 wins with this with the offenses he's had the last 2 years. Like, I think most coaches would not be able to pull this off. I don't think most coaches would evolve, especially offensive coaches, having to swallow, like you said, a lot of humble pie here, where it's Heupel didn't forget how to coach offense. It's not
right.
He is working with what he has, but there are a lot of coaches who are very stubborn and will not evolve and not evolve to the personnel. Heupel has evolved to the personnel, and I just think we're going to see a bunch of 12 personnel down the stretch. He's like, look, the receivers are what they are. I'm in the business of winning football games. This is not how I would prefer to play football. I would not. This is not my favorite way of doing this. But the goal is to win. The goal is to ultimately win. Miles Kitzman and Holden Stays playing a bunch of snaps for me gives us the best chance to win, and that's just the way it is.
Here.
Tyler Ivens, you want to do? Have you done a final prediction on the podcast yet, or on the radio show yet, or no?
No, I usually do those. We're doing this Thursday. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll go.
Which way are you leaning right now?
I'm not going to change it.
Okay. What is it?
27-21 Georgia.
Okay. I'm going 24-17 Tennessee. I think the streak continues.
Wait. You just had Tennessee winning this game.
Yeah, the streak of not giving up 20 plus points.
Oh, the 20. I hear streak. I'm hearing 7 in a row by Georgia.
Yeah.
I
think they're doing it.
Then that means you have them winning the whole thing.
What do you mean?
Natty.
Oh, no.
If you're keeping them on the under 20 points per the stat everybody's been putting on their Facebook statuses and their Twitters.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to they're going to host a playoff game. I think they're in the CFP. I think the networks want Tennessee to host a playoff game so bad. They want 102,000 on television. Yeah. They want Tennessee Notre Dame with Tennessee hosting or Tennessee. They want that. And I think it's so naive to not think that that's not going into set the equation here a little bit. They are going to think about optics and what will sell. And there is not a better one than Tennessee Notre Dame or Tennessee Penn State at home in Neyland. Yep. You know?
Man, I want to go. Remember, I've been 10-2 hosting a home playoff game all year. I just got an uneasy feeling. It may be all the antibiotics I'm on right now.
I mean, I understand. Man, they're just gonna do it, Tyler. They're gonna do it. And you know what's funny is fans are gonna be losing their mind throughout this entire game. They're not gonna enjoy 1 second of it because it's gonna be painful. Both offenses are going to struggle. And hey, guess what? There's going to be a lot of penalties by Tennessee. Do you know what Tennessee's never not going to do on the road? They're going to get penalties. This is the nature of the beast. I just don't know how fans go into every Saturday. They're like, I really love the Josh Heupel Tennessee Volunteers to clean up the penalty problem on the road. This is the weekend. Why are you doing this? We're in year 4. It's not happening. You can still win games. It can happen, but it's not getting cleaned up. I don't know what to tell you, but you're just making yourself mad for no reason. Tennessee is going to get penalized. Tennessee's defense is going to hold Georgia under 20 points again. Tennessee's going to roll. Like, I think Tennessee is going to do the Auburn thing of what Auburn did to Tennessee or to Georgia in 2017. That's what's going to happen here, where you're just going to do it. Like, they're just going to go in and win, and the whole blackout stuff and everything else. Georgia is not who they've always been. And people have to understand Georgia is not who they've always been. This is a limping Georgia team. They can do the blackout, whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter. Tennessee's just going to win this game outright. And you're going to come out of it and you're going to go, oh, we were really worried about getting left out over so-and-so for nothing. We're just going to be in, and we're going to be in the SEC title game against Texas or Texas A&M. This is pretty cool. Okay, I'll take this. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
So then, tell me, were you trying to wrap this up? Because I actually feel like I want to open up one box that has a question in it that we're actually going to talk about today on the show, and I don't even care to bring it on your program first.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
If, in fact, they do beat Georgia Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
does Saturday's win against Georgia hypothetically overtake Alabama 2022 as the biggest win in Josh Heupel's career?
Yes.
You said that so fast and so easy. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Because Georgia, where Georgia is now, where Bama was 2 years ago even, like, we were at the end of the empire with Nick Saban.
Know a secret?
Yeah.
I think so, too.
Yeah, like that's...
But not everybody does.
I think it's because the emotional part, and it's a rival, like the Tennessee-Alabama stuff, naturally, like, I think fans will always... And it's at home, so it's a little bit different. Like, the shot of, like, the kick going through the uprights and then the immediate fireworks, like, it's just... Yeah. It's going to be hard to ever overtake that kind of emotion for a lot of fans to actually like feel like that this is a bigger win. But I mean, that Bama team was flawed. You saw it throughout the year. They were flawed. And this, like that was the end. Like Saban did not win the national title that year. He did not win it the next year. And then he retired. Like you were watching the gradual decline of the Saban empire and he got out. Georgia is not declining yet. Georgia just got destroyed. They went wrong in the portal at receiver. They're younger. They lost a lot of NFL talent. They're really, really banged up. They lost their elite OC, the best OC in college football, to the NFL and Todd Monken. And Bobo's just a downgrade. Doesn't mean he's like an albatross, but it's a downgrade going from Monken to Bobo. You've had a lot of brain drain on both sides of the ball at Georgia. I think they have been the kings of this conference for the last 5 years. They have overtaken. This is the one. This is the one where, I mean, you look at where Kirby has taken the Death Star. They are the new Death Star. This would be the biggest win in the Heupel era because, like, Heupel was competitive in 2021 against Alabama. That was a game going into the fourth quarter, very undermanned. Like, they were throwing all over Saban. They were competitive all 3 years of the Heupel-Saban era of football. They have not been competitive since the first half of 2021 against Georgia. Like, not even competitive. Like, this has not been, like, Kirby can take a nap. Going, like, he can just be like, all right, y'all do whatever you got to do. I'm going to go get a hot dog or get some Petros, and I'll come back in a little bit. That's not, if they are able to flip the script there, and with how many big-time recruits are going to be in attendance for this game, too, for both sides, you show them that not only can you go into their house and beat them, you beat them with defense and just kind of like shut that crowd up because it's a low scoring game and it's just like classic vintage SEC football. That is a program changing win. That is a like, oh, this is different. Like that is a Fulmer type. Like we're feeling like 98 at that point.
Oh,
it didn't feel like 98 in 2002. It never felt that way. The defense wasn't good enough. The defense just wasn't there. You were too early. They were too good too soon. They were a victim of circumstance. But where they're at now, you win that game, Georgia is bigger. If you beat Georgia in 2024, that is a much bigger win than beating Alabama in 2022.
22 puts you on the map.
Mm-hmm.
24, you run through the map and you realign the blueprint and the foundation of your house.
Yeah, you're in the SEC title game. You're with the big dogs now. You're the kings of the SEC.
Haven't won it since 98 yet. Made a trip to Atlanta for the conference title game since 07.
That's what I'm saying. Like this,
07, I was still in college the last time. Tennessee
like you win and you're in.
Yeah.
You're looking at a bye in the CFP, potentially. You could get A&M in the SEC title game and win. Like we talked about Texas. Like I'm not sure Texas would beat Tennessee. It'll be a game.
I'd welcome Quinn Ewers going up against.
Yeah,
this.
100%. The Manning factor there, Arch in the building for that one, and then you get
Ian just changed their pants. Shut up. Yes.
Yeah, like look, you know what I'm saying? Like that's very much on the table.
Well, I'm glad to see that you got your slice of today's topic, because I'm sure I'm jinxing it, bringing it up on Thursday. I'm sure I'll have somebody that'll have dog feces in my mailbox Saturday night if Tennessee doesn't win. But you know what?
Well, you're going to, my gut is, let me know after, but my gut is, I think most fans are going to say Bama.
So I made a comment to 4 of my friends. Not only are they kind of my motley crew, but they're kind of my test rats. And I told them last night in a group chat, and they were split 2 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still, my phone is still blowing up today with they're going back and forth with them providing their angle and statistics to why. And the other 2 are saying, Bama, go, I want it to be Georgia, but you don't understand. You don't get crawl, walk, run. You don't get whatever. I like the fact that it's not just already one-sided. I like that they're doing the back and forth. And it's, ladies and gentlemen, great discussions turn into great debates, which then turn into great entertainment. And that's where we are in the industry now these days. We're not personalities. We're not hosts. We're content creators, folks. That's what we do.
100%. Tyler Ivens, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at 991 The Sports Animal and everywhere else this week?
Man, that's everything. You already brought it up at the top, too. Lady Vol basketball, men's basketball, Tennessee football right now, who instead of chewing your fingers every Tuesday waiting for the college football playoff committee to tell you how you should react or how you should feel, just go 5-0 in November. Then you finish 11-1, and you take that responsibility out of their hands. Handle your business, man. And we'll have the latest for you. Nico, Dont'e Thornton, Andre Keurig. Can Tennessee go down and do something they haven't done since our boy Josh Dobbs decided that he wanted to say, one more chance, one more throw. So
I wish the Niners were on a bye this week so he can come in.
Who does San Francisco have? Well, whatever.
Seattle, I think. I think they're at home against Seattle.
They might. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He just came in for the Florida game and was recognized. I just dropped Josh a text about a week ago. It was the first time I saw his new commercial on Progressive for the backup.
Yeah.
Like, count that money. And all I got was a wink back from him. I'm like, all I deserve is a wink. Like, give me some, get out of here. Yeah, it'd be great to have him back. And I'm sure there are a lot of Vol fans. I know quite a few. Are you making the drive?
Oh, yeah.
I know quite a few people who are staying hours outside of Athens because of the hotel availability. And they said, if I was 100%, I'd be down there. But as we've talked about, if you do or do not know, your boy's a little bit under the weather, and I'm trying to get back to 100%. But I can tell you one dang thing. Tennessee comes back to Knoxville. If they come back to this area code in this county with a win against Georgia, I'll sleep when I die. Just hit me with an adrenaline shot and some Red Bull, because it's going to be an absolute it's going to be an absolute meteor for the next 2 weeks leading into championship weekend.
100%. If they get blown out, I'm just taking a week off from the pod. I'm just like, I need a break. I need.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. I don't think Tennessee's going to get doored.
I don't either.
I thought in my prediction that I told you 27-21. I think the game's close to the entirety of the game. I think Tennessee a procedure penalty where they had I can't look into the future, but I can see fourth quarter. It's like 21-20 Tennessee, and they have a chance that they can salt it away, and maybe they're in Max Gilbert field goal range, and it's like just get these 3 yards and you can move the chains. I can taste it. I don't want to taste it, but the bad taste is in my mouth. It'll be a 3rd and short procedure penalty that makes you go 3 and 8, or personal foul turns it into 3 and 17 or 3 and 16. And you're just like, what are we doing? What are you doing? And then it's Sampson for 4, 4th and 12, flip it, 27-21, game's over. And you're just like, why? And we're still talking about the IKEA. We call it the IKEA here. Every little piece needs to be tightened down for this thing to work. We're going to be talking about the IKEA procedure penalties coming up on Monday's show, and I'm going to flip a freaking table at whatever restaurant we're doing the show from.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't eat Sabelli's. I like Sabelli's.
Oh, I love Sabelli's. You kidding me? Swing by, get you a little Italian in there. So, in my opinion, only Italian place that actually counts in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Sabelli's. I wouldn't live long on this planet, but I could eat Sabelli's every day. Like Sabelli's is one of those. Like, every day.
Sabelli's is good. Thing I could eat every day. Petros. You already brought up Petros. I grew up on chili.
My wife loves Petros. I'm not a Petros guy.
Petros is pretty solid. Me and Rick Barnes have a soft spot in our place for Chewy's.
Che Guevara?
Chewy's Mexican Grill.
Chewy's good.
Oh God.
Chewy's though, you're getting a nap. Like there's no second part to your day. Like you
By
have
the
to
way,
time Chewy's correctly.
Did you hear about what Chewy's is selling?
No.
They've already sold it now, so I was kind of pissed off. I couldn't get my hands on it. When was the last time you went to Chewy's? Have you ever been to their salsa bar trunk?
Is that back?
Okay. There used to be a trunk.
Yeah.
That they had welded to the wall. And you lifted up the trunk and it had all the salsa dishes inside.
Right.
Saw it on Facebook the other day. Chewy's, pick up, must pay in cash, $600. I texted a friend and I went, we're putting that in my garage right now. Went to Chewy's to pick it up. They were literally putting it on the back of a trailer. And I was like, well, at least I can get to go while I'm here. That thing lasted 4 hours on Facebook. And somebody bought half of a trunk that they had welded and they're going to go put in the wall. You lift up and it literally has all your salsas laid out.
That's unbelievable.
Too good to be true for one to have it in his garage. We can't have everything you want. I guess I just got to stick with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures and whatever God blesses with.
There you go.
Brother,
Tyler
I
Ivens,
appreciate you.
always a pleasure. And I'll talk to you very soon.
Should do this again.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.